Tejo Tungabhadra is based, again, it's going away from the contemporary literary, the background. It goes back about 500 years back. It's in the early 16th century, end of 15th century, 16th century. And it's also based on the lives of people in Vijayanagara Empire and also in Portugal. That's the background of the story. His latest novel, is called Reshme Bhatte. So this is, it's again an historical novel. I don't know why he is writing historical novels, but this goes back almost 2000 years. This is a novel based on the historical events. It's like a snapshot, just a very short period, about 10 years maybe, in the 2nd century. And the story, it's totally outside of what is present India. So it's outside our culture, you can say. There's no Karnataka in it, no Kannada in it, no India even in it. Because most of the storyline happens in the South Asia. It's a region going from Samarkand to China. That is the story that is going, that's the background of this book. As mentioned already, he is a winner of several awards and he is a very popular author. And not only that, he is a software professional. He studied engineering, and after completing engineering, he got into a software profession. He was a professional for nearly 20 years. And then he quit the profession and he started his own, full-time author. And he started his own publishing company. So he's established and he's dedicated his life to the literary work based in Karnataka.
Thanks. Thank you very much. That's a very detailed introduction of me. Thank you very much for that. It's like JJ. So what I first outset, I would like to thank this committee. So Kottakaram Residents Association. It's unbelievable. Like, I'm a Kannada author. I'm speaking here is something I consider it as a privilege. One emotional point I have here to share with you all is I used to work in this city 30 years back. Okay, so 30 years back, I was the person who was responsible for automation of your hospital, one of the hospital which is there in MG Road called, I forget the name of it, that trust hospital, which I was there. I was doing the automation of that. Okay, I stayed here for 2 years, and during that 2 years is the time I felt I should write short stories. Okay, so I wrote my first short story in Ernakulam, sitting in Ernakulam. So I'm very thankful to this city, and I have a very fond memories, nostalgic memories with this city, and with Gopalakrishnan, so who has translated so beautifully. I believe everyone who reads the book, they all for it, saying that it's one of the fantastic translations we have read in Malayalam. So I can't read Malayalam, but still I believe that there's very, very important authors say that he's one of the fantastic authors. I hope he will bring more Kannada culture, more Kannada literature into Malayalam.
Thank you. Let's move into his literary world. His book, his autobiographical essays, and it's called Nammamandre Nangishta, I Like My Mother, in which there is an essay that says that his short story, the first short story was he wrote when he was studying in class 9. That was in Bellary, near Bellary, that is North Karnataka. closer to Hampi. It's a very hot place, and that's where he went to school. And he says when he class 9, somehow he wrote his story and published. And we know that later on he went into engineering and went into the software professional. And as I told you, he started short stories, writing short stories. So a little bit more on the detail, your first story, and also how you transformed, to a full time, because software professional in the 90s is a very rewarding career. The people are getting fantastic salaries in IT at that time. So why you left that lucrative business and got into the literary world in Bangalore? Please.
Yeah, this question I keep getting. You are a software engineer. I was working for Tata Consultancy Services, and also one of the MNC of United Kingdoms, and I worked across the globe. So I used to work in England. Most of the time I have worked in England. So what used to happen is, like, within 2-3 years of software engineering, I realized that it can give me money, enough money, but it doesn't make me happy. So I realized it very early. Within 3 years, I realized it doesn't make me happy. It gives me money, enough money. It was giving me enough money, enough for me. So money is not enough to anybody. So for me, I felt it was enough. So afterwards, there was something else was also associated with that as my sexuality as well. Gopalakrishnan slightly touched on that side also. It's called as Mohanaswamy have written a book called Mohanaswamy, which is available even in Malayalam also. It's DC Books has published that particular book. I realized about my sexualities that I'm a gay. So I was finding very lonely when I was in Ernakulam. I started feeling so lonely, and all my friends were talking about their new girlfriend, their new marriage, their house construction, everything else. They have so many things to talk about and talk about their identity. Whereas in my case, I was not having any identity. I don't know what to talk about myself. I didn't know how to handle this. I was in a very tough time that time. So I was here only, in Ernakulam only. So in near to Madhav Pharmacy, there used to be a place called Madhav Pharmacy. So I used to stay in somewhere there. So I used to find very tough. And that is the time I said, I need some identity to myself. I require something to say that I'm also not just by my sexuality, but I have something else also to say to the world. At that time, I started writing actually. So I felt like I should do something. I started writing in here, and very interestingly, I have never met any author in my life. Till I wrote my first book, I had never interacted with any author. I just sitting here, I wrote, and there's no one who can read Kannada story here, like still again alone. So, and somehow I managed to send that manuscript to an unknown author. See, during those times, the magazines used to publish even the postal address of the author in Kannada. That was like a Facebook for us. Someone writing an address of a particular author whom you can contact, you can send a letter, is like a Facebook, today's Facebook. It's a similar kind of a social media for us. So immediately I just took someone's name saying that, okay, let me just see if they read my story. So I took a handwritten, not even Xerox. Xerox was 10 rupees per page. So there was no way that you can Xerox a story. So I wrote everything in this thing and sent it across. And then she said, it's a wonderful story. You should continue writing like this. You can write good stories, is what she said. And I got confidence. And I never stopped back. Means I was lucky because my stories, like my writing, was highly appreciated in Kannada. Like people keep on reading 2 times, 3 times like that. My books keeps reprinting and all. So I found it success actually. So this was successful. So I took like a software engineering just to support my life. Okay, so some days I I need to work so that I can live independently. I don't need any other income. And after working 20 years, around 12 years back, I left. So IT. And I thought whatever I have earned in IT will take care of me throughout my life. But surprisingly, my books sell so well, and I'm also a publisher in Canada. So I'm a publisher of my own books. So publisher in Canada, so now I get excess money actually. So to be frank, more than what I need in my life. So that much money my books bring me, yeah? So that's how now I can't stop. It's more like it's not just, I started as an identity, but now it has become a part and parcel of my life itself. Like without writing, I don't know what else to do. I absolutely don't know what else to do. I keep writing. So Kannada being my mother tongue, definitely I write in Kannada only, nothing else. In fact, like previously what used to happen is when I joined engineering and when I was not able to speak good English also during that time, like, you know, I used to struggle. I can't fluently ask a question in the class even if I get a doubt, because always till 10th standard I had studied in Kannada medium. But the advantage, the thing was like I used to get very angry with my father. You know, like my father did this. Like, so what he did was, actually poor guy, so he's no more. So I lost him 25 years back. So what he had done was like there was two schools in my village. One was a Kannada medium government school. The another one was a prestigious convent school. Okay, two of them were there. And in that prestigious convent school, you have to give something like 5 rupees per month to study in that school. My father said, no, I can't spare so much of money. He was getting very small amount. He was a clerk in a private company. So he said, I can't spare so much of money to you. Go and study in the government school, Kannada medium school only. So I studied in Kannada medium school. And when I'm in the engineering, like I can't speak fluent English, I used to get very angry with my father, saying that just because of 5 rupees, he made me to, he didn't allow me to study English. But now, after these many years, I know it very clearly. Because I went to a government school, Kannada medium school, I could become a Kannada author. If I had gone to the convent school, I definitely would not have become a Kannada author, and I'm not sure if I'd have really got English also so well that I could write it in English, my expression. So I think writing in your mother tongue, whether it's Malayalam or it's Tamil or it's Telugu or Kannada, it's very important, irrespective of whether we have a big readership or not. That's a separate thing. But writing in your mother tongue, it means you are blessed. You have a power of language.
Thank you. Actually, that reminds us, you know, if you look at some of the kids here, you know, 10, 14 years age kids, hardly anyone of them speaks Malayalam. They can read Malayalam. It's a very sad story among us also today. Now, you know, in the same book, there is another story about his college life. How, you know, as he said, his father was not he was poor from family. So he went to a normal college. A normal, after PUC, he went to a normal graduate college near his village. And then, you know, the idea of engineering didn't occur to village students. So, but some of the students said, okay, they are going for writing an engineering entrance exam. So he said, why don't I also go? And he has a family in the town, that is Bellary, where the examination will be held. So he thought of enjoying the trip, going there, you know, as a vacation. So he went and wrote the examination, and then luckily he's a very bright student. So he got admission there. And he went into engineering in a prestigious college, that is the Regional Engineering College in Surathkal, which is now a NIT. So he studied there. And, you know, remember, I think this is the late 80s or early 90s, I think. Yeah, that's the period, you know, the India the 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 opening of the Indian economy is just happening then. Remember, that was the time, our government has to take our gold to UK to pledge to get the money. Just about the time the IT revolution was just about happening. So that was the time he passed out, and he got campus selection, and he got a salary, and it was, I don't know, several times more than his father was getting. And some of us will remember, those, with gray hairs will remember that period. You pass your graduation, you don't get a job, there's no opportunities. So suddenly, things changed. People have a lot of money in their hands. The globalization was happening. The opening of the economy was happening. Suddenly, we lived in a world where we could not see any foreign stuff. We come to India, like people come, remember the stories of people coming, carrying a 2-in-1 in their hand. That was a prestige symbol. We don't have TVs in our house. And, the people are living relatively a poor life. We could say that, the economy was just getting better. So that globalization, and suddenly, the money coming, the changing of your life, your family, you're taking your mother. In another story, he writes about taking his mother to a steel shop. Please tell us something about that change in India in the last 20-25 years.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I come from a very lower middle class family. Okay, so my the month end means it used to be a very tough time for us, like to handle in getting the groceries from the stores and all that kind of a family. But luckily I was too good in academics actually. So academics I did so well, and I went to a good engineering college, and there I was a topper of the university also. So I got immediately a job. So the whole thing was like when my father came to know that my salary is so much, like it was in 90, okay, so I was getting some 5,000 rupees at that time in 90s. So he was getting around 400 rupees salary. So 400 rupees was his salary. So he asked me the question, why should someone give so much money to you? Right? He didn't like it. Means he felt jealous actually. So it's like, though he is happy about my performance and my progress and all, like the question came in his mind, like, why should someone has to give you so much of money? I feel that is the story of India. The two generations, generation to generation, there will be a gap. We all agree. But between my generation and my previous generation, the gap was so big that it created chaos within the society. So that haunted me a lot when my father really asked that question. And he had a concerns about the son also, means saying that, is he involved in any bad activities? Is he involved in any smuggling or something like that? So he got that scary also, like, why should someone give them some? First of all, there was no idea in my village that you will get a job before completing the course. Like, that was not heard of also actually. So people used to struggle after, completing their degrees. They used to struggle for 2 to 3 years to get a job, a proper job. But by the time I finished, it was exactly the time where Manmohan Singh and our prime ministers both opened the doors for the private organizations, and we could get the job so easily. So that one, I wanted to write a story actually between my father and me, like how does that both generation face the challenges each other. Their mindsets are very different and my mindset is so different actually. So my father wanted me to get into a government job. Okay, so he was very particular that you get into a government job. Okay, so I had got a government job also. I got it in Kerala again. So very interesting. Kerala's connection is there with me. In Trivandrum, ISRO I had got a job in ISRO. So I said, no, I'm a brilliant student. I cannot go to a government job. So I had to go to the private job and a multinational company I had to join. So I'm not interested in joining a government job. Like some kind of mindset during that time. So now I repent that. So that's a different thing. My mom was asking, something which gives you a pension, why are you throwing that job and you are going to a job which doesn't give you a pension? Okay, so she was always worried actually, like you won't get a pension. Actually, you are not going to get a pension. Like, I said like, okay, I won't get a pension, but somehow I'll manage. But what happened in as a very, very interestingly is the book which I have written on my mother, so about my mother, I have written series of essays, 22 essays I have written about my mother. It's so popular in Canada, so almost like I keep selling 2,000 to 3,000 copies every year. So, and also the one which I wrote about my father and this relationship, the difference between in India, like two generations, it's part of syllabus of so many universities and engineering college also. So even engineering college students also study that story as part of Canada, this thing. So now I say my father and mother, somehow they managed to get me the pension actually after my job is lost. So they are able to get me my pension is what I keep telling in a funny tone. So what exactly it means is actually storytelling can be done by anybody. You don't need any degrees or qualifications to tell a story. Even people who had never studied, never visited, or don't know even how to write also, they have told stories. Our folklore it has full of beautiful stories which has been narrated by people who don't know how to read and how to write. In that case, an engineering telling a story is not a big deal at all. Anyone can tell stories, okay? So be confident about it. Never keep it in your mind that I have to do a MA in Malayalam to write a Malayalam story. Absolutely not. The stories are all around us. It's not that somewhere outside a story is there or something like that. It's not. Like what happens is like when your son or daughter, a young son or daughter of 5, 6 years old, they come from the school and they tell you saying that, Mom, do you know what happened today? Right? So if you say, tell me what happened means, he will start telling a story. This is very, very important because we are willing to listen. Because we are ready to listen to him, whether it's truth or not, we don't know. But we are ready to listen to someone else, a story will start popping up. If it flourishes, the story will flourish. So that's why we always say in Canada, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Because you listen more stories rather than telling. There are more ears for us, so we have to keep on listening to the stories. Once we listen to stories, the stories will start happening because we all have stories. Don't assume story means it's something which is published in a weekly magazine or a newspaper or in a book form. Absolutely not. All of us have stories which can be conveyed to the individuals. Like means they have beautiful stories. Everyone has a beautiful stories. Only thing is we need listeners to visit that. So what there's one thing which I would like to tell because we're talking about the stories is many of you would have studied Sapiens actually. So it's Israeli author, historian, which he has written the book called Sapiens. It's there in Malayalam also. What he says is, once upon a time, long back, so thousands of years back, like there was a hierarchy, right? Always there will be hierarchy among all the living beings on the earth. Like you have elephant, you have cheetah, you have tiger, you have human being and birds, everything is there, including an ant is there. There will be always a hierarchy. That hierarchy, in that particular hierarchy, he says, once upon a time, the human beings, all the humankind, mankind, so human beings were at a very, 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 very lower level of hierarchy. They were at the below, bottom level they were there, it seems, because their physical strength was very weak. Only the thing, animals which were like, who are very powerful, physically very powerful, they were at the number one. But what happened is, all animals started learning a language. They all started producing a language of their own, like just like we all have our own language. Even a dog will have dog's language, and a bird will have bird language, and even any tiger will have a tiger language. In fact, elephants are too good at language, so they can communicate with another elephant which is there 1 kilometer away. That sharp they are, so that they can communicate. Now what happened is, but after this language, there was an immediate change, it seems, where human beings became number one and all others became below human beings in the hierarchy. Why is the human beings didn't stop the language there itself for the communication? They used the language for telling the stories and accepting those stories as the genuine works. Because we tell stories and because we accept stories, we believe in stories, we progress so well in the hierarchy that became number one, it seems. If I just tell like that, you won't understand. I'll give you an example actually, so it becomes much more easier. See, if I show you this one, you all believe, you feel that it is a 500 rupees note. I can tell you that it's a 500. I don't have to tell you, no, it's a 500 note. Outside, if you go, it's a 500 rupees note. Everyone will tell. What is it? It is a story. Who told that story? The RBI has told this particular story to us. That any paper which has got this kind of a printing and all this is to be considered as 500 rupees. Someone made a story and our life has become so easy. You can travel across India with that story. It's very powerful. Story is very powerful. You have to believe in it. But if you go to a monkey, if a monkey is holding a banana in its hand and say that I'll give you 500 rupees, will you give me the banana? It will never give banana to you because it doesn't believe in stories. Only we human beings, we believe in stories. We have progressed so well. Everything is a story. Today's event is a story. That I am going and coming here and speaking is a story told to you by someone and you believed in it. And I came here and I'm speaking against that. We started believing in stories and listening to the stories. It became so easy for all of us. So that's why any of our traditional pujas, you take any puja we do, Satyanarayana puja or do a Lakshmi puja, anything. So they invariably tell, those who tell this story and listen to this story will get punya prapti rastu. So they say. That means there is a progress of humankind with the stories. So we cannot forget the stories. So stories are going to be part of it, and everyone, every individual has got the right to tell their stories. Okay? Only thing is we need to listen. It's very, very important that we listen stories. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, that story, that we use for notes is so interesting. And our Prime Minister one day suddenly destroyed that story. People will remember the destruction of five.
I agree with that. We had so much of a difficulty. In fact, in my novel, which is on 2nd century, I cover that scenario also. Like suddenly a currency, in this case, demonetization, right? So money was demonetization. We ended up in so much of problem. Just assume that someone introduced a new currency. Till then, the human beings had never used to the currency. And suddenly you introduce a currency. Then what is going to happen is going to be the same conflicts. Okay. So in my 2nd century, actually, Kanishka does that. Kanishka is a king, right? So who was there near that Pakistan area. He came up to Mathura as well. Mathura also has come and he has ruled. So he introduces the coin system. He wanted to introduce the currency. Like, what is the chaos which created because of introduction of a currency, monetization, not the demonetization, monetization also can cause the similar problem is something which flashed me actually. So that I bought it actually. So in my story, but for what is important is like he mentioned that I written 2 historical novel, but for me whatever we write, whether we call it as historical novel or mythological novel or whatever the name you write, it is actually a contemporary novel. There is nothing like history. There is nothing like mythology. It is my contemporary mind, how it is trying to see the situations, the various situations which has happened some other time from a point of view of today's. If you take your the very famous M.T. Vasudeva Nayar's novel on Bhima, right? Randamulam. All right, okay, I might pronounce wrongly. Sorry about that. Randamulam. It's a second option, right? Second choice. Yeah. So Randamulam. So if in Kannada it has been translated as Bhimayana. So I have read that one. See, the whole thing is not Mahabharata there. It is about M.T. Vasudeva Nayar. So he is talking about what exactly it means becoming a second person, not the first person in a family. So what all the problems which you start seeing it, that's what is, it is highly contemporary story. It's not about Mahabharata, it is about his times. So that's why we keep on telling the same stories again and again, but they become very different because they become contemporary. So that's how it will be. Yeah, your demonetization is very much connected with some other events which happened in the history.
Now, coming to the stories, his novel Tejo Tungabhadra, it's in the beginning, there is a very interesting story. It's happening in Lisbon, Portugal. That is one kitchen hand. She steals, one rainy night, she steals some spices from the kitchen, royal kitchen, and tries to escape. The royal guards shoots her down. They kill her, and they take every bit of the spices they retrieve from her. And after her body is thrown away, the onlookers come in and join. They scour the mud. Whoever gets a grain of pepper or any other spice, they become shout happy and they rejoice. Basically, that story was carried for generations. It became a myth much before the Portuguese Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India. So it shows the preciousness of Indian spices in medieval Europe. It was a very valuable commodity there. And later in the novel, we learned that the Portuguese bring green chilies to India. It was introduced accidentally. It was very spicy, but then they liked the taste, and then that's all mentioned in the novel. Now, if you look 500 years later, the present day, can we live without that green chilies? If you don't have suddenly, the green, like the notes disappearing, the green chilies disappear, we cannot eat our food. And in India, India is today, the green chilies come from Americas, South Americas. But it becomes so Indian now. India is the largest producer of the dried chilies. The Guntur chilies, the Kashmiri chilies, Byadagi chilies. And suddenly our cuisine changed. Some people complained that the Indian cuisine was destroyed by the green chilies. Probably we do not know because we do not cook much these days, only using pepper. We only know green chilies. And we transformed it. But in any case, that change, suddenly one food comes from one part of the world, comes to another part and dominates it here. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, and actually, so it's looking at a history from a bird's eye view point of view. Okay, it's very different. Okay, you see so many changes which are happening, unbelievable changes actually. For example, but he told that, saying that the black pepper was so important in India. It's everywhere. Everywhere the black pepper was used here. There was no other spice element. Actually, for us, it's a black pepper only. It's our product here. But during that time, for the black pepper only, Portuguese came. But interestingly, when they are coming to India, they had visited Mexico. Okay, so Mexico is their land actually. Sorry, Brazil. Brazil they had visited. From Brazil, they bought chili, green chili they bought. And now today you look at it, after 500, 550 years, right? We hardly use pepper for our food. And we almost claim that we are the experts in using the green chilies, like that. We have made it as our own vegetable actually. So the green chili has become our own vegetable like that. So that changes happens. For example, the another one is wheat. Wheat was produced somewhere in the area of, first harvested in the area of some, I think, Iraq area. Okay, so that's the area they first found out the wheat. And today, who are the highest wheat growers in the world? It's China. China never knew about the wheat. Okay, didn't know about wheat. Now they are producing the wheat and they are the number one. And what about rice? Rice is from China. And who are the number one in the world for rice producers? India. India is the highest harvesting of a rice item. So, in the history, within 400 and 500 years, things get changed so much, you start wondering, why did we fight for? Why did people came all the way from, see, that's unbelievable. Someone coming from Lisbon up to your Calicut. Okay, the Calicut is the area where they come. So historically, Vasco da Gama came. Unbelievable. There was no power. They didn't have any power. They didn't have any instrument to tell the direction. Compass was not there. They had only, they believed in air. Actually, the breeze they believed, and they traveled thousands of miles to reach in India because there is a spice here. The smell of the spice has reached the Lisbon altogether. That surprised me. How could it happen? What made people to think about it? Because you know, Kerala is the place where the spice trade was the highest during that time. 14th century, 13th, 14th century. Of course, before also it was there from the 1st century itself. We have records. But unbelievable, and how things happen and they get gradually changed also. And definitely Portuguese economy is nowhere comparable to Indian economy as far as today is concerned. You know, like the time has changed so much and we are doing much better than what Portuguese were at that time. So these are the things which always haunts me. And you know, art gets caught within this. When this global changes, something which suffers sometimes is the art. I'll give you an example. What happened is, after the silk technology was, means it's almost like theft happens actually. So only Chinese knew how to make silk. No one else knew how to make silk, okay, before 1st century. But somehow, from China, these Asians, they bring the technology to making, they bring even the silk worm also. So they bring and they start harvesting here. And now they've become experts in making silk cloth. They can view and they can design on the silk and everything is so beautiful. It becomes like highest sold trade. Just like our spice, silk becomes #1 trading item in the 1st and 2nd century actually. And it continues for so many centuries. But what happens is, change comes again. 6th and 7th century, 7th and 8th century almost, what happens? Islam invades the Central Asia part, most of the Central Asia part, especially this Iran and Iraq and also the Afghanistan, the part of this, they all become Muslim. right? So entire thing Muslims. Now there is a challenge comes. What the challenge is, Islam never allows you to use designs in your cloth. You are not supposed to. So your no forms is worshipped in Islam, right? So they are not idol worshippers, right? So they say you cannot have any designs on the cloth of silk cloth. Now the challenge comes to the weavers. If you don't do any designs, if you don't make any of the artwork on the silk cloth, who is going to buy that? The buyers are mainly the Greeks and Romans. Romans were the people who were buying it. So they won't buy it. So what do they do is, so the artists are in real problem actually. So they don't know what to do. Then somehow they come up with a solution. Art is something like anytime they will come up with a solution, you know. So what artists do is, what is so holy about the Islam is the Quran, right? They say, can you write the Quran text on the cloth? They ask. You can write the Quran text on the silk cloth. So immediately calligraphy gets developed. Calligraphy becomes so powerful that nobody can read properly. And during those times and all, who knew? Since 7th century and 8th century, hardly anyone knew how to read Arabic text, right? So they converted all that Quran text as diagrams or the beautiful patterns and started making the silk cloth. These silk cloths were so popular in the Europe, right? So they were so popular in Europe, they could not make a difference at all. So whether it is, they thought it's a new pattern, new design has come. They never knew that it is a text of a Quran actually. So they were not aware of that. And now what happened is, so they were putting that silk cloth as a very prestigious cloth, and they used to put it on the Jesus and Mary, so they used to put all those cloths. Now all the Jesus and Mary, so they are with the cloth with the Quran text. And you know, like how we know today also all that differences, variations is, even till today, artists have made paintings on the churches. Right, so many churches are there in the Europe. There are so many paintings are there on the churches. Those paintings, the Mary or the Christ, which they're wearing the cloth, the silk cloth, and that one Quran is there. Quran text is there. Because they don't know, artists also don't know that that's a religion of some other things so that we are using. So that's how art finds various paths to escape from the state laws. State always tries to suffocate you. Because it is very self-centered and it tries to create so many suffocating laws, artists get suffered. Artists will have challenges. But remember, when there are challenges, new creativity comes up. We start coming up with the new creativity. Calligraphy is there in all those Islamic countries. Calligraphy is not there in India because India is a form worshipper. Any diagram, any diagrams which you make, that is worshipped as a god here. So there was no problem. So we never converted our text into a calligraphy. But there was a challenge and calligraphy came into picture. So the art history, when we look into it, it will have various challenges and they have seen so many solutions, innovative solutions, which always surprises me because I'm a history reader. Always I keep on reading the history. I found it so fascinating. Word is so fascinating. So we need to put all that into picture. In fact, for silk comes from China. And silk is the one which we all start using it, right? Even our Rama also wears silk and Sita also wears Pitambara. So that's a silk which there always. Even Kalidasa was so happy about the silk and all. But interestingly, today, if you say Chinese silk, means it's a bad silk. The people who created the silk, now when we say the Chinese silk, means it's a duplicate silk. It's a low quality silk. So people don't go for the Chinese silk at all now. So that kind of a changes happen. You just have to keep on observing the history. That's all.
Thank you. It's fascinating. You're talking with Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
time
yeah.
for the
We'll
next
ask
session.
any questions if there
Do
are.
you have
any.
any time for questions?
We can allow two
One or
questions,
two
I think.
questions?
I'll not talk much, okay? I'll answer very light. If anyone has any question.
We have a tradition of reading Kannada books in Malayalam.
Yeah,
Long history, Shivrama Karanta, Anandamurthy,
yeah.
and all.
Sri Krishna
So,
Alanhalli, Karant, and
Sri Krishna
yeah, yeah, Anant
Who,
Murthy. So
who,
they have all been celebrated here. I'm very. In fact, I should tell you one thing. Like Karant always used to tell, more than Kannada readers, those who are really given me some money to live is Malayalis. Okay, so he used to always tell. The Karant used to tell.
so my question is, who are your favorite Kannada
Oh, there are plenty. So it's not just one or two. Like it's Kannada. Of course, every language will have their own rich authors actually. So Kannada also has very big this thing. So it's like plenty. I can't just one or two names. I can't say. There are plenty. It's like asking a young boy who are the good-looking girls for you. So he will tell at least 100 names. So he can't just tell one name, right? It's like that only for me. There are plenty of them. So they have really enriched Kannada language. See, there is one period where all these Kannada authors whom we are talking about, whether it's Anant Murthy or Karant and all, they used to read English literature a lot, right? Through English literature, they enriched their writings. They were voracious English readers, all of them. I'm sure the case will be the same here also. But present generation, they cannot read English so well. My contemporaries, they have not read English literature at all. Their all influence comes from the Kannada literature only. Okay, so that change we can see here actually now. It's more like it comes from the local this thing, and I observe that with even in Malayalam authors also. Many of the Malayalam authors whom I interact these days, they don't have good English. They cannot speak fluently in English. Not all. So many of them, so actually they can't. But they should be reading only Malayalam. Through Malayalam, they can see the word. So any Mexican writer's writing also has to come to you in Malayalam only, and they should be able to study that, right? So I'm sure most of the world famous authors will be there in Malayalam as well. So that's how, through my mother tongue, I am ready to see the word. Through Malayalam, you see the whole world. Like that, I see from my Kannada, I would like to see the whole world. It's not only just restricted to literature these days. So it's also, we are open to film also, right? You will be surprised. My sister and brother-in-law who lives in Raichur, a remote place in Karnataka, North Karnataka, they watch all Malayalam films. In Kannada subtitles or in Kannada dubbed version, they watch Malayalam. They know all your heroes and heroines and directors. They know it very well. So now, globe is opened in so many ways. It's not only just the literature, in all other forms it's opened, right? So people are having access to the information, art, everything, wherever it might be. I do have an access to it. It's a beautiful time actually. In a way, it's a beautiful time.
Thank you, Vasudhendra. And thank you all for attending this session. Thank you.